Welcome to the Conscious Kinky Podcast, where we explore sexuality, connection, and power through awareness and intentional choice.
At the Kink Collective, we help people reframe their relationship with sexuality, build deeper connections, and become safe spaces in the world.
Each episode invites reflection, not performance.
And the conversation continues inside Conscious Conversations, our live community space. Welcome to the conversation.
What if the reason your relationships don't feel good has nothing to do with compatibility and everything to do with safety?
Not the kind of safety that people talk about on the surface, but the kind your body either feels or it doesn't.
Because here's the truth. People don't actually know what safety feels like. They know control, they know anticipation, they know how to manage outcomes. But safety is something very different.
Welcome to the Conscious Kinky Podcast.
I'm Joshua.
And I'm Kat.
This podcast isn't about teaching you how to do kink. It's about helping you understand how you relate to power, how you relate to connection, to your body, and to the people you invite into your life.
We use kink as a lens because it exposes the truth quickly, where you override yourself, where you perform, where you hold back, where you don't feel safe, even if everything looks good on paper.
And today, we're starting month 6, which is safety. But not safety as a concept, safety as a lived experience in your body. We're going to start with a story. I remember a moment early in my journey where everything looked right. And the dynamic made sense, the chemistry was there, and the structure was solid. But something in my body wouldn't settle. And instead of listening to that, I tried to explain it away. I told myself a number of things. This is good for me. This is where I need to be. This is what I said I wanted. This is what I sacrificed things for. I just need to push through this. But what I was actually doing was overriding my system. What that looked like was not saying what I meant because I was afraid if the relationship ended, I would have nowhere to live, or I would be deemed a failure as a dominant or as a leader. And so I stayed. And I paid for that.
And that's something we see all the time, right? People confuse attraction with safety, intensity with connection, and structure with trust. And then we stay in situations where our bodies are signaling something important, but we've learned not to listen.
Yeah. Because a lot of us, safety wasn't something we were taught to feel. It was something we were taught to manage. Now, I want to break this down conceptually.
Here's what safety isn't. Safety isn't agreement, it's not compliance, or someone saying the right things. What safety is your body softening, your breath deepening, and your system not preparing for impact, not being in defensive mode all the time.
And when safety isn't present, your body compensates. I tend to over-explain or over-give, over-perform, or just shut down completely. And that's not because I was broken, but because my system was trying to protect me.
So the question becomes, are you actually safe, or are you just good at managing the situation?
And I noticed that I spent a lot of my life managing, and that's not what I needed to be doing. When I came to realize it, it was like, this is where I stopped to analyze what's going on. Am I where I want to be? If not, why not? What's missing? Because safety isn't something you think your way into. It's something you learn to recognize, or the absence of.
So we're going to give you 8 questions, not to answer perfectly, but to start noticing where your body and your behavior don't match.
So we're going to jump into these breakout questions. And before we start, I want to remind you to pace yourself. With each question, after we've stated, pause it for 3 minutes. Sorry, hit pause. Take 3 minutes to answer the questions yourself. And then come back in a day or two later to see how much more you can flesh it out. Take your time with these. These are meant to disrupt the story, not confirm it. So let's start with question number 1. Where in my life do I feel like I manage the environment in order to feel okay? And what I want you to consider, what I want you to look at are conversations you rehearse, people you anticipate, situations you try to control. Where are you adjusting yourself instead of feeling grounded in yourself? So the question is, where in my life do I feel like I have to manage the environment in order to feel okay?
I feel it in different areas in my life. I too, like you, have spent time managing instead of feeling safety, instead of feeling in my body. And so I think sometimes I do it with us, sometimes I do it in work situations, sometimes I do it in friendships that aren't going the way that I want them to go. And so I manage instead of just being in my body. Sometimes I feel like I have to do something. And that propels me to act, but to act over the fact that I don't necessarily feel safe.
Well, I guess the question is safe from what, right? Safe from judgment, safe from harm, safe from distress, safe from what am I managing the environment to feel safe or okay in?
That's a really good part of the question. I think for me it's managing so that I don't have to feel some kind of way that I don't want to feel, so that I don't have to feel rejected, so that I don't have to feel not important, so that I don't have to feel like I'm not wanted. And so I sometimes manage those situations to try to avoid that.
Yeah, I think what you said about safety from rejection is a big one. It's like, if I can keep myself relevant, then my position is safe. And that stems around, in some cases, jealousy. In other cases, am I doing enough? In other ways, it's around making sure that I still have that level of trust, that I don't burn a bridge just in existing. One of the things I learned last night in the men's group is I'm still trying to manage my life. I'm still trying to control the outcomes of things. And sometimes it's scary to have no certainty. And so I think sometimes I manage the environment in order to compensate for the absence of certainty.
I really like that. That really resonates with me. Like managing to create safety through certainty where there isn't.
Yeah.
Right? So that makes perfect sense to me. When I don't feel certain or that I can't find certainty, managing to create or force or artificially manufacture some certainty to try to feel safe.
Yeah, so it's like it comes back into the question of safety of what?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So as you're reading these questions, something we discovered in the last recording is you're going to get these questions and they're going to impact you a certain way. Interpret them and answer them how you see them. Because what that'll tell you is, one, what's your position in the topic, whether it's safety, if it's accountability, if it's vulnerability, if it's containers. Answering the question through your own lens gives you that perspective. For those folks who join us on Tuesdays for our Conscious Conversations, where we dive into these questions a bit further, when I hear other people's interpretations of the questions, it expands my awareness of it exponentially. And that's, I think, one of the best things that I've experienced so far in Conscious Conversations is when I thought I had an answer, I hear 2 or 3 others and it's like, wait a second, I like that answer better.
I learned so much about myself in these conversations. And we answer these questions here for the podcast and then sit in Conscious Conversations, and then I get a whole new set of answers.
Yeah. So
which we encourage you to do. Do the work here, but then come to Conscious Conversations and chat with other people and see how your answers deepen and grow.
Because the cool thing, right, as you're watching this, you're going to hear our answers to this, and that's intentional, right? We want to give you guys some waypoints through this question. But the impact, ultimately, that's a one-way conversation. You're ruminating on these answers. You have your answers, and then you hear some outside ones, but there's no one you can share this with. Once you start to speak it out, and I start to hear how I sound doing it, and then other people responding to what I'm saying, it's like it changes the way I sit with these questions. So as you hear these questions, especially the folks on social media, because we're streaming on Instagram and TikTok for these recordings moving forward. For the folks who are listening, ask yourself these questions, sit with it, and maybe ask a friend, see what they say. But ultimately, take 3 minutes and then come back. All right, so that's question 1. Let's move on to question 2. What does my body actually do when I don't feel safe, and how quickly do I override it? And I want you to get specific. Do you get tight in your chest? Do you get shallow when you're breathing, tension in your jaw or stomach? So the question is, what does my body actually do when I don't feel safe, and how quickly do I override it?
Yeah, I get anxious. I breathe. I breathe shallow. Deep breathing goes right out the window for me. My stomach gets upset and goes south. If I had an appetite, I lose my appetite. My chest clenches. I feel like somebody called DEFCON 4 and I'm on high alert. I'm totally activated. That's what happens for me.
I, on the other hand, I think I lost my fucking place. Oh my goodness, did we pass it?
Yeah, I think so. Oh, no?
No. Here we go. All right. So we have a little teleprompter thing we're working with, and I hit the little back button and screwed me up.
There we go.
All right. So tight chest, shallow breath. What does my body actually do when I don't feel safe? So again, it comes back to that what type of safety are we talking about? If it's physical safety, it's fight mode. It's like my claws come out, my jaw tenses, my body hardens, and it's like fight mode comes on. I think fight mode looks different in a lot of different scenarios, because what if it's not physical safety? If it's emotional safety?
And I think it's important to note the difference between when you're actually not safe, like you're literally threatened.
Yeah.
You know, like that time when we were on the train and we thought somebody had a weapon and there's like an actual threat, what happens, and when it's an emotional triggered type, trauma related, whatever, when you don't feel safe, but there may actually not be something wrong. It may simply be somebody's doing or saying something that reminds you of something from the past, or, that may be a red flag. You're not in danger right now, but you. So I think there's a couple of different kinds of safety we're talking about here.
Yeah.
What kind of safety are we talking about in terms of how your body responds?
Yeah, so the physical safety is one. What about safety in connection, right? What if I don't feel safe in connection, where maybe I feel like someone's manipulating the circumstance or overriding my boundaries, or stepping over my boundaries, I should say, or doing something that's inherently dangerous in play?
I do one of two things. I get angry, and I have a hard time managing that. I have a hard time dealing with that, and I have a hard time speaking to it, or I shut down. Those are the two big responses I have to that sort of safety issue.
Yeah. So if I don't feel, because safety doesn't mean, some of the play that we do isn't safe, right? So it's like, because it makes me think about, what does my body actually do when I don't feel safe? What if I don't feel safe in a scene, right? And how do I quickly override it? It's like, I've done some rope in the past as a bottom, where they've put rope around my neck on purpose, like we were doing breath play and stuff. And I ended up pushing through it because I knew it wasn't safe. It was dangerous, right? But I knew that I wanted to be there, right? So it's like, how do I override it there? It's like, well, I pushed through it and I put faith in the person that they're not going to fucking kill me. However, it's like, that's a real process when a person doesn't feel safe in the body, and like, what do we do with it?
I think it matters a lot where we're at, right? Like in that description, in that scenario you just described, like, you knew you wanted to be there. Mm-hmm. So the feeling of not safety was something that you had to work through. But when you're in a situation where, truth be told, you'd rather not be in it, and you should maybe save for it or whatever, and then by habit or rote you override those feelings, that's a different thing, right? That's a situation where the outcome needs to be, I do something different next time. Next time I don't push through, I use a safe word, I get a pause, I stop and say, I'm not comfortable with that, I don't want to do that. That doesn't feel safe to me.
Yeah, because that's the truth of the matter. It's like resentment, fear, regret, mm-hmm. injury, death, right? There's a lot can happen if I'm overriding safety.
Yeah, no, someone in my circle did that in a play scenario a week or two ago, and then was like stuck in it because they didn't speak up. They didn't say what they needed to say. And then they were spinning around it, and it took up a whole bunch of time and energy and space until they were able to like get to the point where they said, that thing that happened, I wasn't comfortable with it, and I don't know why I didn't safe word. And then our conclusion was, and so the next time, not only do you need to negotiate for that stuff up front, but you need to be able to say to stop if it gets to a place where you're not comfortable.
Yeah.
When you don't feel safe.
So it's like, that's something to really consider. It's like, what am I doing when I don't feel safe? Because the question is, what does my body actually do when I don't feel safe? What we're trying to do here is highlight the moments that your body's trying to signal something to you.
I think a lot of us, I know for sure me, my body will always tell me the truth. Our bodies will always tell the truth. But I have a habit of just saying, yeah, whatever. Yeah, whatever. And then going right past it and not heeding the message that the body's giving me.
Yeah. So with that, consider that in this question, right? We're not pretending like we have all the answers to this stuff. What we're showing you is that we have some experience and some perspective on this, and we want you guys to do the thinking for yourselves on all of this. We want to bring awareness to what you have going on in your body, in your mind, in your journey. All right, so with that question, how do I override it? how fast do I ignore that signal to keep things smooth?
Right. And that goes to what I was just saying about that other scenario, right? There was a desire on the person's part to not rock the boat or ruffle feathers or upset the groove or the flow. And so just like that, they overrode the signal. And I know I do that when I don't want to chop up the waters or run the risk of hurting somebody's feelings or making things stop. If other people are involved or some things are going on, I'll get the signal and then I'll just roll right past it.
Yeah.
Usually
Yeah.
I keep quiet and I just let things go regardless of how I'm feeling.
Yeah. So consider that. Like, am I overriding my own needs and desires, or
Like, what would I do right now if I did what I really, really wanted? Instead of what I think I need to do in order to make things be okay.
yeah.
I think for me, that's a question, that's an antidote to overriding my body. It's like, what, if I really paid attention to how I'm feeling right now, what is it that my body's telling me I need to do? Right? Do I need to run away? Do I need to like change, leave, stop, do something different than what's happening right now?
Yeah, I get that.
All right, so let's move to question number 3. Where do I confuse intensity, chemistry, or attraction with safety? Think about relationships that felt electric or dynamics that moved really quickly. Did your body feel settled or did it feel activated? So the question is, where do I confuse intensity, chemistry, or attraction with safety?
I think that new relationship energy can really stir a lot of this up, because safety, I don't think when I'm meeting someone for the first time, it's like safety. I'm not thinking about safety. I'm thinking about, wow, this is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And as a person who was late age diagnosed with ADHD, right, and impulsivity that controlled a lot of my life, and in some ways still does, I think in new relationships, I can overlook, I won't say confuse safety, but I would overlook safety with chemistry and attraction and intensity. It's like, wow, there's a lot of fun. And then on the back end is like,
Yeah.
wow, I forgot to put my seatbelt on the roller coaster. Like, that was a close one. Thank God I didn't fall out.
All I can think about is the relationship that I started when I moved to New York 15 years ago. And there was a ton of intensity and chemistry and attraction. And I blew by. I shudder to look back and think of the number of red flags that I blew right by.
Well, how many did you go by?
A lot.
And what was the outcome of not?
The outcome was I blew up my life in California. I moved to New York. I got into a ton of debt. I ended up having to declare bankruptcy. There were a lot of things that ended up happening as a result of the decisions that I made while I was in that new relationship energy state, seeing the world as if everything was fine and everything was great. And of course I was safe. And of course this was a great connection and whatever. And I blew past a lot of flags. I mean, in the big picture of life, I don't regret it because I'm glad I came. I'm glad I moved here. I'm glad I did what I did. I needed to make a change. But in hindsight, had I paid attention to my body and signals, I might have done it a little differently.
I'd be afraid to ask, how many red flags did you blow past for me?
Not nearly on the same order of magnitude as what I'm talking about.
Okay.
You're good.
So yeah, that's my answer for number 3. Where do I confuse intensity, chemistry, and attraction with safety? The confusion comes from the excitement. I don't think, and I'd have to think about if there's anyone out there who's any relationship or connection that they've projected or they showed up with a certain mask on to cover safety. Here's another one. Someone who came in and volunteered here for a period of time, right? I overlooked the safety for the attraction to being able to help them and the attraction for them being able to help us. Now, with that, someone told me about the red flags and I said, cool, I appreciate it. I want to see it for myself. That was the other side of it, was maybe they just needed an opportunity to see things differently. And so I didn't overlook the safety, I considered the safety. But I think the attraction to helping someone overrode that, of the obvious red flag that was like, but then again, I can't say it was obvious because I think sometimes people just need different circumstances in order to help them work through something.
Yeah. I think in that situation, other people saw the red flags and it was clearer to people on the outside, but I think we were just caught up with trying to, because we believe in second chances and we believe that people change and we believe that people can be given the opportunity to prove that that's true. And I think that's where we were.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. As the flags started to mount.
Yeah, no, listen, again, we've been doing this for years.
Yeah.
Years, and we still, sometimes we miss things.
We still touch irons.
Yeah, we still touch irons. Number 4, what behavior do I use to create a sense of control when I don't feel safe? Some examples would be over-communicating, people-pleasing, withdrawing, becoming hyper-independent, hypervigilance. So what behavior do I use to create a sense of control when I don't feel safe? Or another way to ask that is, what's your version of control disguised as connection?
Well, I don't know that my version of control is disguised as connection, but I do know that I learned this about myself last night, that I use silence in a lot of ways for a lot of things. And so I withdraw and I become hypervigilant. In fact, I've come to identify hypervigilance in myself as a symptom of feeling not safe and something not being right. And so when I become hypervigilant, I can almost always stop and ask myself, what's going on? Why are you feeling this way right now? What in your environment isn't right? Even if it's that there's nothing that's not right, but there's something that's reminiscent of the past or whatever it is, but there's something that I need to sort out for myself, and that hypervigilance and that I shut down. Withdrawal is one way to talk about it, but I literally shut down. I get very quiet. I don't want to talk. I don't want to say anything. I don't want to risk. And I don't know if it creates a sense of control, but I think it's my best, up until now, it's been my best effort at exerting some modicum of control in a situation that I suddenly don't feel very safe in or very much in control of.
I think for myself, if it came down to that form of safety, I get silent so I can observe. And if I'm observing what's happening, then I believe I can control some of what's happening. Or the silence ends up going into like an observation prediction mode, so that hopefully I can anticipate what's coming next, or I can be ready for what's coming next, versus it's going to come and I just won't be ready for it. Because when I hear safety, again, it makes me think of physical safety right off the top. And in those scenarios, it's like the hypervigilance goes up and I'm observing everything. What if it's not physical safety? What if it's emotional safety? I think I get silent too. Right? It's like,
Yeah.
I think the silence allows me to not seem afraid or nervous, or like I don't know what to say or do. You said that yesterday, didn't you? The silence? Yeah, look at that.
That's what listen, last night on Conscious Conversations, we dug deep and I learned a lot about myself, about how much I use silence for a lot of things.
Yeah. Interesting. So
Listen, we learn more than you do doing this.
yeah. So we're going to transition to our next set of questions.
So once you can see where safety is missing, the next step is asking, what would it actually look like to create it?
Pace yourself. Remember, 3 minutes, pause, and then come back in the next day or two. to flesh out the questions further, because now we're stepping into the deeper introspection and integration questions.
So question number 5, what would safety feel like in my body if I didn't have to earn it, if I didn't have to prove it, and I didn't have to maintain it, if I just felt it? What would change in my posture? What would change in my breath, my pace? So what would safety feel like in my body if I didn't have to earn it?
I think what comes to mind is like a steady flow. Like there's no abrupt acceleration or deceleration. It's just presence and patience, I think.
Yeah. I think I would feel comfortable. I would feel, it sounds silly, I want to say I would feel safe. But we're trying to describe what that is, right? It would be the opposite of what I feel like when I don't feel safe. My stomach wouldn't clench. I would be aware of when I was hungry. My sense of humor would stay intact. My sense of humor goes right out the window when I don't feel safe. And I'm able to see the lightness in things. I'm able to see like the good in things. Because I'm not in that looking for something to jump out at me from behind every corner, which is what happens when I don't feel safe, right? Like I go to a viewpoint in my body that says that everything's okay and that everything's going to be okay and there's nothing to worry about.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's like a there's no tension, there's no peace. I mean, there's peace, there's no abrupt acceleration, there's like a flow to it.
Yeah.
When I think about that, what would safety feel like in my body if I didn't have to earn it?
I like that idea of flow that you just said, feeling like everything's just going the way it's supposed to.
Yeah.
And that you're in it.
Because like if I feel like it isn't in my body, and what am I feeling then? It's like white water rafting. Like a level 5 category 13 rapids, right? And it's like that doesn't exist, but that's like what it
I thought of that at Niagara Falls.
Yeah, 13 is off the cliff.
I thought about what it would be like to whitewater raft down the falls when we were looking at them. Not safe.
Not safe.
Not safe.
So yeah, I think that's how I would answer that.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to question 6. Where am I relying on structures or roles or labels to feel safe instead of actual connection? Is it in kink? Is it in relationships? Is it in titles? Is it in agreements? Are you using structure to replace something that hasn't been built yet? So where are you relying on structures, roles, or labels to feel safe instead of actual connection?
Now, I want to point this out to you guys again, that while we're talking about kink here, this translates to all relationships in your life, personal and professional, through all aspects of your lived experience from birth to your final days. It's like this is all relationship information. It's not just for kink.
Yeah. No, I can go right to work situations where labels and structures and roles I use to feel safe and not have to make actual connection. I've noticed that like I even have a hard time sometimes in work environments making genuine connections with people because I just stay behind this person's the boss, this person's a coworker, this person's underneath me, like where's everybody on the ladder? And living inside of that structure can make me have sometimes even a false sense of safety. There was a work situation I had once where my false sense of safety kept me from seeing that I was about to get fired. Because rather than being in connection with the people that I was in that restaurant with, I was, the owner and the chef and the people that I was interacting with, I was relating to them from a structure, role, and label standpoint, and they were involved in some other shady stuff that I wasn't noticing because I wasn't in genuine connection with them. And then the tables flipped and I ended up fired.
Yeah. That makes me think of the difference between leading and managing, right? I think leadership, when embodied in a in a real way, it isn't about the roles or the structures. It's about the connection. It's about the safety that comes in that connection.
Yeah, because you can find real leadership outside of roles. Like in any work environment, somebody may be the person who has the title that makes them the leader by title. But then if you actually look, boots on the ground, the people who exhibit genuine leadership because they're connected to people, because they care, those are the people who actually lead.
So with this question, consider that. Outside relationships, professional relationships, at home. So a way that this can pop up at home is, I'm the husband, I'm the breadwinner, so I make the rules, right? Versus maybe the other partner that stays at home can lead more significantly in certain areas, but because of the labels or the roles that you're taking, you feel I have to be in charge, right? Versus the connection of, I see you as the more competent leader in this area, because we've taken the time to connect, and I see your strengths in this area.
Yeah.
And it's like,
yeah, you've talked with people a lot about that, where partners in relationships are confuse their roles for who they actually are.
yes,
And what, if they saw themselves as they actually were, they would make different decisions about what they're actually doing, right? And their relationship would feel better. Like their relationship doesn't feel good because they're caught up in roles and structures trying to, create whatever they're creating rather than the safety that would come from genuine connection.
yeah. So again, consider that. Always consider outside the box. Let's move on to number 7. What boundary would help my body feel safer that I've been avoiding setting? Not the big dramatic boundary, but the honest one. The honest one says, the thing disconnected again. So answer that one, Mama. What?
For me, probably the boundary that I avoid setting is when I'm not feeling safe, when I have that feeling in my body. What I really need to do is step away. What I really need to do is take a break, and I don't let myself. That's the simplest boundary. Would be to just be able to say, I need a timeout. I need to be able to either go for a walk or do something to let my own nervous system reset so that I can go forward without all the activation and all the stomach clenching and the chest tightening and the shallow breathing. So that's the boundary I think that would help my body feel safer.
Yeah. So what boundary would help my body feel safer? I think it's just about, my hard part is I'm still trying to understand what's happening in my body, right? Let me find question 7 again. Oh no, we're jumping all over the place again. What boundary would help my body feel safer that I've been avoiding setting? It comes back to listening to myself when I need rest, right? The boundary of overriding what I need because of whatever reason. I'm exhausted, or I feel something else is needed from me, or if I don't rest, I'll be replaced. Right? And that's one of the big ones for me is.
Yeah. It's funny, when we started this podcast, I talked a lot about rest and nap taking and that I needed that. And I'm starting to hear you talk about it a little bit more, that maybe it's something, giving yourself that opportunity to rest when you really need it.
Well, I think part of it also is like the survival mode idea, right? It's like I tend to feel like I can't rest because I feel like I'm in survival mode.
Yeah.
And I don't think the boundaries are external for me right now. I think the boundaries I have to keep are with myself. Because I don't feel a lot of pressure from the outside. I don't feel a lot of people asking things of me and stuff, but I feel like I'm not respecting my own needs and wants. And it's like trying to put a finger on them hasn't been easy either, because it's newer territory. Well, what do I need? What do I want? Why am I still operating like I'm in survival mode? And how do I shut that down? Because I don't even know how to put that into a statement around a boundary. Like what am I overriding that keeps me feeling like this? So
We're still works in progress.
we're still works in progress. And that's, I think, one of the more important things also to take away from this is like, listen, we've been doing this for a long time and I still don't have my own answers. And as I continue evolving and doing this work, my answers change and sometimes they disappear because they're not what they once were. So my answer from 20 years ago doesn't exist anymore. So what is my answer now? And that's the truth about this.
Yeah.
This work, not just in kink, but in relationships and in life. And that's why we have this program. It's not because of kink, right?
Right. Kink is just how we got here.
Kink is just how we got here. All right, so question 8. What is one way I can practice creating safety in my life this week without waiting for someone else to provide it? And I'm stumped on this one, right? Because this is the shift. Safety isn't something you receive. Safety is something you participate in creating. So the question is, what is one way I can practice creating safety in my life this week without waiting for someone else to provide it?
For me, I mean, because I heard myself say it a second ago, for me, it's going to be giving myself the opportunity to take myself on a break when I don't feel safe, when I get that feeling in my body that tells me that when I get that hypervigilance, that overactivity, that, to put my coat on and go take a walk or go, do something, go sit in the sun, go close my eyes, do whatever. That's the one thing I can do, I think. I can try to practice.
It's tough. I was answering this last night in the men's group again on what's one practice I can do to blah, 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 blah. And it's like, I said I could step away, and I've tried that, and it doesn't work. Take a pause, I tried that, and it doesn't. Because what happens is my mind goes into ruminating and problem solving or creating my answer to whatever's in front of me. And I don't know my answer for number 8 because I keep trying different things and none of it seems to work. And that's like the real part of it. Is like I was sharing with you guys earlier today and yesterday. It's like if sometimes it feels like it's something I can't get away from. Right? No matter how much pause I put in, it's like my mind instantly goes into trying to find a solution, find an answer for it, or try to name what it is, or in some cases, more cases than not, I'm justifying the emotion that I'm feeling because I'm thinking about all the circumstances, everything that's in front of me, and it's like, but that's no fair. Like, why can't I get away from it? Why can't I find the way to create safety for myself when my emotions and my body's not letting me? It's because I'm trying. I'm trying to create safety for myself when I don't feel safe or when I don't feel like I can be safe. So that's my answer for number 8.
All right.
We're going to go into our question review now. So, month 6, safety, what it actually feels like in your body. The first set of questions, awareness and orientation. Where do I manage the environment to feel okay?
2, what does my body do when I don't feel safe, and how do I override it?
Number 3, where do I confuse intensity with safety?
And number 4, what controlled behaviors do I use when I don't feel safe?
The second set were deeper introspection and integration questions. Number 5 was, what would safety feel like if I don't have to earn it?
Number 6 is, where do I rely on structure instead of connection?
Number 7, what boundary would support my safety right now?
And number 8, how can I practice creating safety this week? Most people are waiting to feel safe before they show up honestly. But what if it works the other way? What if honesty is what creates safety?
And what we've learned through this work is you don't build safety in isolation. You build it in conversation. You build it in a reflection. You build it in a real-time interaction. That's why we created Conscious Conversations.
Every Tuesday night, we take these questions and we bring them into a live space, a live online space. So you're not just thinking about them or ruminating on them or even writing them down. You're speaking them out, hearing others do the same thing, and seeing yourself more clearly in the process.
And for the people who realize, I don't just need insight, I need consistency. That's where the integration program comes in that we're launching in a few weeks. Because awareness without practice is where most people get stuck. The program that we're launching in a few weeks is a deeper dive into this, where we have our breakout rooms, we have our meetings on Tuesdays, and then throughout the week in our WhatsApp group, you'll have interactions with us and other participants in the program as we drop in deeper reflection questions throughout the week. We'll jump on, I believe, for a 1-hour Q&A once a month, so folks can come in with their lived experiences, with how they're integrating this material and how it's showing up in their lives, to share it and ask questions.
So here's something to sit with this week. If you don't feel safe being yourself, you will slowly become someone else to survive.
And that version of you might get connection, but it won't feel like home.
So instead of asking, do they feel right for me?
Start asking, does my body feel like I can stay here and still be myself?
We'll see you in the conversation.
New episodes drop every Friday, and the work continues inside Conscious Conversations, Tuesday night at 9 p.m.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. See you then.